The air in this cave is damp and heavy. You feel as though you may drown if you breathe too deeply. As you walk, old bones crunch beneath your feet. From the shadows you hear a skittering, and suddenly massive spiders, large enough to pull a cart, jump from their hiding places. As they stand on their hind legs, they tower over you. Their massive jaws chatter and drip with putrid liquid. Could it be venom? It likely doesn't matter, as one bite from these beasts could surely remove your head entirely. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Black Magic Craft. On this week's episode, I'm not tackling a big build or anything like that. I'm going to show you how I worked through a particular problem that I encountered this past week. I bought some minis. I bought some spider miniatures. I opened them up and I was just going to quickly throw them on a base and paint them up, and I figured it would be a really easy and fast mini paint to add to my collection. But when I opened them up, I realized that these things out of the package didn't really have an easy or good way to attach them to the base. They didn't come with a pre-sculpted pudding base like I've talked about previously. They didn't have any sort of stand or anything. There was no way to attach these straight out of the package onto the base, which was a little bit frustrating. It wasn't too big of a deal because I knew how to deal with this fairly easily. I knew I could just pin the model and sculpt a custom base. Thinking about the fact that these particular minis are sold as kind of beginner level miniatures that are supposed to be good to go out of the package, I knew that some people, if they opened these up, could find it incredibly frustrating. Because I had to fix this problem for myself, I figured I would document the process and share it with you guys. This covers how to deal with this particular situation, but it will also show you how to sculpt an original mini base 100% from scratch very, very quickly and easily. It's really not that hard. Let's take a look. So opening this thing up, I was met with 3 spiders, none of which really were sculpted in a way that was conducive to putting them on a round base. These Wizkids minis come with these thin plastic bases. I don't like to use them. I prefer the thicker Reaper ones. Either way, these spiders just wouldn't sit on these nicely. The weird thing is that these came with 2 sort of separate base things, one that was kind of just like a muddy sculpt and one that was sort of wrapped up people in webs, which were pretty cool. But why do 3 spiders come with 2 decorative pieces? Why aren't there 3 of them? Neither of them made basing these any easier, so I don't really quite understand the thought process here. Either way, the one of wrapped up people I'm gonna put aside, and it's gonna be a great little bit of scatter terrain that I will use later. In order to get these things on a base and posed in a good fashion, I knew that I needed to pin them. I took a rotary tool, you can use a Dremel, whatever, and a very small drill bit, drill a hole right in the thickest part of the underside of the mini, and then just super glue in a paper clip. Now this will do 2 things. It will, 1, let you hold the awkward mini while painting, because you want to paint this thing up fully before putting it on the base. Then once your mini is painted and your base is sculpted, this pin will be an anchoring point to join the 2 together. I did a simple paint job on the spiders and put them aside so that I could get to work sculpting the bases. And for this, I used regular Milliput, which I find easier to work with in cases like this than using green stuff. Just mix the 2 parts together and start spreading it across the entire surface of the round base. I wanted some elevation on these bases, some objects that these spiders could be crawling over so that I could pose them and had something to pin them to. So I left a larger amount of Milliput in the centers of the bases. And then using a sculpting tool, I just sculpted the centers into rocks. This is really easy. You basically just take a flat sculpting tool and push it down until you have what looks like a stone projecting from the earth. There's really no complicated artistic skills here. These bases in total for all 3 probably took me 5 minutes to sculpt. Once the bases were sculpted, it was important that before the Milliput cured, I pose the spiders and create the pinhole for them to glue into later. So I cut the pins shorter on the spiders and placed them how I would like, indented the paper clip into the base. So this way there would be a perfect receiving hole for the pin when I was finished and gluing them together. At this point, it was important to keep the bases matched with the spiders because these spiders all had slightly different poses and they created some indents in the Milliput. So I wanted to make sure that I kept track of which spider went with which base for the rest of the process. Once the Milliput is cured, it is rock hard, and these will be indestructible bases. It's important to clean up the edges a little bit because they can get a little bit messy while sculpting, so you can just scrape that off before painting. I've used many different primers on Milliput, and I've even painted it directly with acrylic paint, and honestly, I've never encountered any problems with any of them, so you can probably get away with using whatever you want. I choose to use the Vallejo surface primer. It's an airbrush primer, but I just use it with a brush, and it seems to work really, really well for me. After the primer was dried, I gave these bases a very simple paint job. Basically, paint the dirt brown and the stones kind of beige, and then I gave them a wash with an AGRAX Earthshade. Any dark brown or kind of blackish brown wash will do just fine. Once they were dried, the fun part could begin, and that was actually attaching these spiders to their new custom bases. And because the hole was in place and the pin was already in place, this couldn't get any easier. Just needed a little bit of super glue on the pin, and where any solid part of the mini might be touching the base, boom, put some glue on, put them together, done.
That's it, guys. I hope you found this video useful and informative. If you did, hit that like button and drop me a comment below. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them down in the comments section. I try to answer every question if I can. If you need to pick up any tools or supplies for building terrain, basing minis, whatever, head over to blackmagiccraft.ca. There I have my essential equipment store with links to all of the tools and supplies that I recommend and actually use. Purchasing through those links helps fund this channel and these videos. There's another great way that you can help fund these videos if you love them and you want to see me keep making them, and that is by supporting Blackmagic Craft on Patreon. It is the single most important resource that I have in continuing to make these videos. I'd love to have you as the newest member of the Blackmagic Craft Fellowship. If you're new here and you just stumbled onto this random video, be sure to click subscribe and check out my back catalog. I got a whole ton of videos related to terrain building, tabletop crafting, mini painting, and all that other fun stuff. So until next week, guys, cheers and happy crafting.